Good evening and welcome to the Township of Woolwich regular meeting of council on September 23rd, 2025. Welcome to everyone here today and all those watching on YouTube. I'll start with roll call of council. I, Mayor Shantz, am here and chairing this meeting. Councillor Bryant.
Present.
Councillor Burgess.
Present.
Councillor Cadeau.
Present.
Councillor Grant.
Present.
Councillor Schwint.
Present.
Thank you. Before we start the meeting, we need to reconvene in open session. Do we have a motion to reconvene? Councillor Grant, Councillor Bryant, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So just to open today, I had I have a good news story from this afternoon. I met with our fire and an organization called Wounded Warriors Canada. Wounded Warriors Canada provides mental health services for I guess any emergency professional, from fire to police to military, and they help with trauma. So trauma support for past trauma and some training to provide support for people that may encounter trauma going into their roles. And so this is a good news story for our providers to help them work through some things. And the one thing I noted for our fire in particular, because we are a community-based volunteer fire department, our firefighters see people that they know regularly. So they may come upon an accident, it may be a friend, it may be a family member, and more so than what some other places might encounter. And I think that plays really strongly into their mental health. So that was a good news story from today. And also I wanted to talk about Hope Multicultural Festival that was run last weekend, and it was the third annual. Abby Cooper does a great job. Hearts open for everyone, and it was very well attended, and always look forward to that. September 30th is National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, and so we remember our Indigenous neighbors who we share the land with. We are flying the survivors flag in honor of Indigenous National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. So that'll be on September 30th. Please join me in observing a moment of silence. Thank you. The Township of Woolwich acknowledges with deep respect that the land we call home has existed since time immemorial, long before our communities were formed and long before we arrived here. Indigenous peoples have had a deep and lasting relationship with this land, caring for it, learning from it, and living alongside all it sustains. We are grateful to the First Peoples who have lived on and cared for this land and who continue to do so today. In particular, we recognize the Chinatan, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee people. We honor their deep connection to this land, and we acknowledge their wisdom, resilience, and leadership. These communities have protected and cared for the land with respect, responsibility, and a sense of shared trust. As we move forward, we hope to build a future based on mutual respect, shared responsibility, and stronger relationships with one another. May we continue to learn together, to care for each other, and to honor all who share this place with us. Do council members have any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we have no items to come forward from closed. The first item on our agenda is a public meeting. And for all those speaking to council tonight, I have a little blurb I get to read to you right now. Once you are finished, you can return to your seat, or if you are a virtual participant, turn off your mic and video. All are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting or leave when you wish. The following public meeting is for information only, and no decisions will be made tonight. Any questions can be directed to Development Services staff following the meeting. There is a sign-up sheet in the foyer for anyone who would like to be kept up to date with the process of this application. I declare the planning public meeting to be open and call on Senior Planner Stephen Dykstra to present the information report, and this would be a draft plan of subdivision for 1065 to 1103 Listowel Road, Elmira. Mr. Dykstra, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to wait for my thing to come up here for a second. There we go. That's good. Good evening, Mayor Shans, members of council, and members of the public. My name is Stephen Dykstra. I'm a senior planner with the Township of Woolwich. The application I'm going to be presenting to you for this evening, it was submitted by GSP Group on behalf of Schlegel Urban Development Corporation. It's for a zoning bylaw amendment and a draft plan of subdivision. The property is located on the south side of Elmira, just to the west of Arthur Street, north of Listowel Road, south of South Parkwood. And as you can see from the plan on the screen there, the subject lands are generally vacant. The proposal of the zoning bylaw amendment is the lands are currently zoned agricultural. The proposed is to zone it residential R5, which is sort of a low medium density residential, as well as R6, which is a medium density residential, and some open space areas. One is for a park and the other is for a stormwater management pond. Some of the residential building form typologies include single detached, semi-detached, some street related townhouses, and then there's a few blocks where there's the opportunity to put in townhouses, possibly back-to-back townhouses, or some other medium density formats. Also located on it, as I just mentioned, there's a public park and infrastructure. There's a stormwater management pond, as well as there's obviously some roads to connect everything. The lands are located in terms of our official plan. They are designated as residential and ancillary. So no changes are required to the official plan. I do have to note, though, that there is an underlying policy that relates to section 1A-2, which is reference to staging. There was a recent report to council adopted, and it included updating the staging for this particular part. There'll be further information in the preceding report, but essentially the allocation or the staging policies are not really applicable anymore to this particular parcel. On this slide, you can see the current zoning and what the applicant has proposed. So currently, as I indicated in a previous slide, the lands are zoned agricultural, and the applicant is proposing a few different zones, including the R5, the R6, which is in red, and the O1, which is the park in the central area, and the stormwater management pond on the southeast section. Here's the concept plan that the applicant has currently proposed. As indicated, there's a number of different built form typologies. The lighter yellow is for singles and semis. The sort of hatched area is for street towns, as well as the lighter orange as well as for street towns. And then sort of the darker orange is for medium density blocks. And those typically take the form of more condo related blocks that would be developed at a later stage. And again, there's the park in the middle and there's stormwater management pond on the southeast side. One thing to note as well too, along Burrowwood Drive, which is sort of the central artery there, it intends to be a little bit wider, and also which would provide more of a cycling multi-use lane opportunity for people to traverse. The applicant has submitted a number of studies in order to support their application. I'm not going to name all the ones here because that'll be boring. But they've submitted what they need to submit, and there are some studies that need to be peer reviewed. Those are indicated as, those are highlighted there as well. So staff have received a number of comments to date. There's some topics which include, traffic, the tree retention and replacement. There's some concerns with environmental and wildlife impacts, some concerns with trails or location of trails, the proposed density, whether there's going to be lights or roundabout, and some questions around the phasing of the proposed development. Obviously, there can be more concerns, and we'll be addressing all those concerns and throughout the planning process. This ends my presentation. As you noted before, no decisions are made at a public meeting, and we ask that members of the public sign in or register to be notified when the future meeting is held for this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Bryant.
Thank you. Through you to Stephen. Can you tell me the difference between an R5 and an R6, just for clarification, please?
I have a little bit of information here. Generally speaking, though, it is it's for density and some additional uses that are permitted. They're both residential. Both would allow townhouses. I think an R6 then allows for some more back-to-back and stacked residential build forms. Be sort of more related to the medium density blocks that would be provided. They're typically, R6 is typically not used for street related townhouses. R5, whereas R5 does, allows for a range of uses, including, I think, singles and semis, as well as townhouses, but sort of at a higher density.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Now I'll call on consultant Charlotte Lumington with GSP Group. Welcome. If you want to come over to the mic and turn it on. Oh, and Vaughn Bender is here with her too, also from Schlegel Group.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. My name is Charlotte Lewington. I'm a planner with GSP Group. I'm joined here today by Vaughn Bender. He's here with Schlegel Urban Developments. I'm also joined by Heather Price. She's a fellow planner at GSP Group. And we have a couple consultants on our team too. We have Erica and Matt from Walter Fetty, our civil consultant. We also have Steve from for our environmental consultant as well. This is just an overview of what I'm going to discuss. There's a little bit of repeat with Stephen's presentation, so I'll try and skip over those slides. So as Stephen mentioned, this is in South Elmira. The entire property is about 18.6 hectares, and the surrounding land uses include low-rise residential to the north, commercial and industrial uses to the east, agricultural lands to the south, and new residential development to the west. There's also Lions Ring Trail connection to the north. Stephen touched on this, but we're not requesting an official plan amendment as the land is designated residential and ancillary, which permits a range of residential land uses such as those we're proposing. And the site is zoned agricultural, which requires a zoning bylaw amendment to facilitate residential development. So the proposed draft plan consists of several lotless blocks, which would be subject to part lot control to create individual lots in the future. We're proposing a range of uses and a range of lots within those blocks. So we're proposing 77 to 111 single detached units, about 63 to 164 low to medium density blocks, which could include single detached, semis, or townhouses. We have 4 street townhouse blocks, which would consist of between 51 and 65 units, and 3 multiple residential blocks that are closer to Listowel Road there that would contain roughly 136 to 250 units. Infrastructure-wise, the current proposal includes 5 road connections to the surrounding area, 1 to Weymouth and Woodbury Crescent to the west, Burlwood to the north, going north-south down to Listowel, and a pintail extension on the north end of the site as well. Burlwood Drive right-of-way is proposed to be 23 meters wide, connecting to an existing 18-meter right-of-way to the north. This portion of road would contain a multi-use trail. The rest of the roads are proposed to be 20 meters in size, in width, which are also connecting to existing 18-meter right-of-ways in the surrounding neighborhood. A park block is located centrally to the site, and it's about 0.5 hectares in size. And we're proposing 1 stormwater management pond, which would address the stormwater needs of the subdivision. I won't go into detail on the zoning bylaw amendment, but we are requesting a zoning bylaw amendment to facilitate the development with a number of site-specific regulations. Again, this is a list of the technical studies that have been prepared to support the application. These are all publicly available. You can read the full reports online on the Woolwich Engage page. Our natural heritage consultant, NRSI, surveyed the trees on the property and along the property boundary. And they've identified on this plan, it's a little bit hard to see, but the trees shaded in gray and purple, those are proposed to be retained. And as for stormwater management, there is an existing municipal storm pond located within the subject lands. And this proposal would include decommissioning that pond and replacing it with a newer, large stormwater pond in the corner of the site. Regarding timelines and how we got here today, Southwood community has been planned for quite some time now, with this being the final stage for full build out of the community. Following pre-consultation with the township staff, we've arrived today with the proposal that you see in front of you. And so today we're just here to receive feedback from council, members of the public, in hopes that we can go back, refine the plan, and hopefully come back to you in the fall for a decision meeting. With that, I'll pass it off to Vaughn to talk about Schlegel Urban Developments.
Thank you. Welcome, Vaughn.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz, and apologies to members of council and staff who this will be a little bit repetitive for, but for the benefit of our neighbors who may not know us as well yet, just a little bit of history on Schlegel Urban Developments and who we are. We're a family-owned company, offices located in Southwest Kitchener, where we've been doing development work for a number of years. The family's involved in seniors care projects, agribusiness, mental health and addiction services at Homewood Hospital in Guelph. And we've been doing community building, residential and mixed-use developments for the past number of decades. Some of our projects which may be recognized are the Williamsburg Town Centre in Southwest Kitchener, the Bauer Marketplace retail and office complex, which we acquired in Uptown Waterloo, the St. Jacobs Market District properties. And if you go to the next slide, that is something that we acquired, I'm moving it, in 2018. And we very much feel privileged to be carrying on the legacy that was established by the Shantz family and by many shareholders who got those projects up and off the ground 50 years ago. In 2025, we celebrated the 50th. We're pleased to be investing in new projects in the Market District, including the Stockyards Brewing project in the former Outlet Mall building. The next couple of slides here just highlight the guiding design principles which we hold ourselves to, I'll say, when looking at residential and mixed-use projects. And these are our objectives we strive to implement in each community to bring about not only efficient land use, but walkable, livable, well-designed, and positive communities. And that's what we're looking to do here in this corner of Elmira as well. So I won't go through each of these principles, but happy to chat about that offline. We do impose urban design guidelines and standards on builders that build on our sites. And that is how we ultimately implement those measures in a physical, tangible way. I'll skip over maybe these slides as well. I just kind of touch on, our vision is for building a complete community. We're not proposing commercial or office in this site, as we're sort of on the edge of all of those uses here in Elmira with its vibrant downtown and services that extend out Arthur Street, but definitely see ourselves connecting into those existing amenities. The project is guided by a gridded design, which sort of maximizes efficiency and walkability and those objectives, providing, a very short distance for hopefully everyone in the neighborhood to the Central Park and so on. I have had the opportunity to speak with a few neighbors since comments have been coming in, and as I've had the opportunity to connect on the doorstep with a few folks, we have heard, comments regarding the importance of property line trees, maintaining trees on our side of the line, which is certainly our objective, and helping to ensure the protection of our neighbors' trees on their properties. Some neighbors are interested in determining exactly whose trees they are, and we're interested in trying to facilitate that with legal survey and so on, and meeting out on site. We've also heard the importance of routing construction traffic on off of Listowel Road, minimize impact and maximize safety in the surrounding neighborhoods. We've heard about the value of the trail connection that exists today. We're happy to be facilitating that interim connection. There will be a connection in the future. There'll be multiple connections, obviously, around the whole neighborhood. It won't take the same form as it does today. It won't be going through a cornfield or a bean field, which I know is an enjoyable experience as well. But we'll maintain and improve, I'll say, connectivity in this corner of Southwood. We have heard the questions regarding traffic and transportation studies and necessities for different roads and so on. And I won't try to preempt what some of our neighbors may be talking about tonight. I think that kind of covers some of what I wanted to say. Happy to answer any questions with Charlotte, if there are any.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I maybe just will say as well, Steve Harris, who is here with us, is actually our geotech and hydro-G consultant as well. So he is expert in all of those matters and very familiar with this corner of Elmira.
Thank you. Are there any questions, Council? No? Councillor Cadeau.
I don't know if this is best targeted for Mr. Dykstra or not, but I'm just looking at the parkland in the middle. I think it's great that it's centrally located. Half a hectare for about, what was it, 18 or so total. Mr. Dykstra, what is the policy around parkland dedication in terms of a percentage, and would this be maximizing the parkland that the township should be seeing from a development like this?
Yeah, through the mayor, there's no real set formula that we have. Typically, we work with our recreation group to find a park size that's suitable for this population and to work for the community. And then that percentage is then worked out through the subdivision in terms of the total amount of parkland dedication that's required. Most of the time, it will be under the 5%. Through the Planning Act, townships are permitted to have up to 5% of the land. We usually do not meet that 5%. So we'll try to get the park the size that we want to program, that we find that is adequate for a program. And then the remainder portion we'll take as a cash in lieu. And then those additional funds can be used for additional parkland in some other area or for additional facilities at a later time.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
You don't have Zoom yet, so if you want to vote.
Okay, next participant is Ben Hugendorn. Welcome. Start when you're ready. Press the button and the green light should come on for you.
Am I permitted to ask any questions that like to Stephen or not?
So you can ask questions. Generally, we don't get into a question answer, but what
Sure.
he'll do is take the questions away, and then when he's preparing his final report, he'll answer the questions. I don't know if you take answers back to individuals afterwards. I'm not sure what you do with that, Stephen.
Yeah, through the mayor. Typically, we'll get their information, their contact information, and then we can take it offline. But this is really the opportunity for the public to express their concerns and what they would like to know. And then after this point, then we would contact them and for any other points of clarification as well.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much. My name is Ben Hogendorn. I live at 31 South Parkwood Boulevard, which is directly behind the existing stormwater management pond. You did pique my interest about the parks and the size of the parks and being able to reduce the size and have a developer pay in lieu of that. So I'd like to definitely hear more about that, how there's a trade-off there, giving up parkland for money. So definitely interested in that. So as was mentioned already, some of my concerns, even though I don't officially speak for the community, I see the community walking behind our property or along the trail, the existing trail, utilizing the existing stormwater management pond. The pond in its existing state does not contain water for the majority of the year. I know that because I live there. So, but I just want to say that it's highly used for a number of activities. There's dogs that are there all the time, playing there. People are walking along the trail, talking. So it's heavily used by the community. And so I'm very concerned about the loss of that area and the loss of that pond, not only because I live there, and of course I have a vested interest because I live there, no question about that. So the community currently makes use of extensive use of that pond, as I mentioned before. Kids play in the area, dogs are always there. I personally and my family and my neighbors would petition for it to remain in its existing location and combine it with a proposed park and expand its use to something similar to the existing stormwater pond, and there's an existing park in the new development adjacent to ours. I think not as many people would use it if it's placed adjacent to a busy highway that we'll see even more use in the future. So Listowel Road is a busy road already, and with that subdivision that's going to be placed there, it will just become busier. That's just a natural part, and it won't be as inviting for people to use. So I think having a park integrated with the stormwater pond beside it, something that's different, something to get away with what appears to me as a cookie cutter subdivision. I understand that the business is needing to maximize the use of the space that they have, try to get as many lots and value out of it as possible. And the township has a vested interest in trying to get as many tax dollars from that as well. So from that perspective, I think it's probably a match made in heaven. However, I'm a little bit concerned that the picture that we see, on the McDonald's quote menu, if you will, doesn't always line up to what you actually get delivered in the bag. So, the pictures always look really nice, lovely drawings and so on, but what you actually get is something different than what you expect. So I would highly encourage Schlegel to relook at the existing layout and as well as the township, and really take a look and see if we can do something more than just a cookie cutter subdivision, which appears to me to be. It's very easy to make on a piece of paper. I know the planners do a lot of hard work, so I do not want to discount all the hard work that you do. I know there's a lot of planning and thought that goes into it. So I don't want to discount that. I know you do a wonderful job, I'm sure. But I just think that, according to your guiding principles that you showed, in terms of meaningful human interaction and livable communities, I think having that stormwater management pond and the park integrated closer by, I'd love to have it behind our property, of course, but if it were set in farther from the busy highway, I think that would be ideal. I think that's really all I've got to say for right now. But really rethink, the cookie cutter subdivision that I think I see before me, and do something different than what I see in all the other subdivisions in larger cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions? No. Thank you very much. Our next participant is Janpreet Singh Gill. Welcome.
Speaking in public after 10 years, so I'm a bit nervous. So
Don't be nervous.
yeah,
We don't bite.
I'll try to. So I'm Janpreet Gill, and I'm a resident of 256 Timber Trail Road. We moved to the city last year. Nice, beautiful green city, lot of open space, green space. Yeah, that was the reason we moved here. So now suddenly, if I could request you to pull up this conceptual plan. I'm talking about particularly about block number 22, which is multi-level residential, showing 75 to 150 units. And I heard it's going to be a multi-story, maybe 5-story building. So which is just behind my place. And if we look at the conceptual plan, all the peripheral properties, those are going to be built. They are all light density residentials, singles or semis. Only 7 of us, right at the corner of Listowel and Timber Trail Road. Now, we are getting affected by this multi-story. I'm not personally, in general, against any multi-story buildings, but my request is just while making any kind of a decision, I mean, I'm hoping council will give will consider our concern as well. Right behind the multi-story or joining the multi-story building, we may lose property values, aesthetic value, light, sun, everything. The open view that I enjoy from my backyard every day, sunrise. So especially any financial losses that we may face because of this. So I'm not against the multi-story building. It's just the placement of this block. If it is contained within or surrounded by the new houses, those are going to be built over there, then the buyers who are buying those houses will be aware, okay, we are buying our house, if it is a single or semi, in front of a multi-story or by the side of the multi-story. So they will be making decision in that light. So for us, suddenly raising a building, multi-story building just behind our houses. So we welcome any kind of a development coming to the city that brings appreciation to the properties of the neighborhood, contribute towards the beautification of the city, bringing any kind of employment to the city. So with the development, I know these multi-story buildings are also essential. There are people, those like will be affording those kind of residences. But yeah, for us, I feel personally, it's not fair for 7 of us. In case, I'm not sure what will be the distance of this building from our houses. I mean, how how this is going to block everything, right? And how will be the view from the street when I look at my home and a multi-story building behind my house? I'm not sure, like, especially any kind of a financial losses those we may feel. And I hope council will understand my point and will take any decisions for our well-being and keeping in mind our mental health, financial health, everything. So that's my request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Dykstra is madly writing notes, so
Thank
he's
you.
taking note. Do we have Mr. Marin online?
Mayor Sean, sorry, we don't have Mr. Marion online. We sent him the wrong information in terms of the Zoom link, so we can always reach out to him separately and try to take his comments down for planning.
Okay. Then I will move on to, oh, sorry, Vaughn, Councillor Bryant.
Thank you. Just a quick question for Stephen Dykstra. How many floors is that building going to be that the gentleman was referring to? Stories, 8 stories, or do we know?
I'll have to look into it a little bit more, but I believe it's sort of, we're looking at, the applicant is looking at like a maximum of, what is it? 5.
5?
Okay.
And has there been a study done as far as shade impact on the houses that are backing onto that property?
No, but that would become, those blocks would be coming in a future sort of site plan. And as part of the site plan, we would look into all those factors as well.
Okay, thank you.
Connor Ehrlich from Apt Environment. Welcome, Mr. Ehrlich.
Thank you. Again, my name is Connor Ehrlich, and I'm representing Assuring Protection for Tomorrow's Environment 2.0, just a branch of APT, or you can just say APT 2.0. So I have a few questions for council and the development team and the developer, I guess, and it's been circulated to the councillors. The first question is, Enbridge Gas has offered subsidies to enable builders to construct energy efficient homes at no additional cost to home purchasers. Will Schlegel be building its 50 Enbridge subsidized Energy Star homes in Woolwich, or its Enbridge subsidized Showcase Net Zero Ready Home in Woolwich? My second question was, what's a cost comparison of building with natural gas versus all electric conducted by third parties such as Building Knowledge and Guelph or REEP Green Solutions, who's here today as well? And is that study available to the public? Number 3 is what is the projected peak natural gas use for this new subdivision? Has that been calculated? Number 4, who will be responsible for reducing these emissions that will be hitting, sorry, in order for Woolwich to reach net zero in 25 years? Is it going to be the builder, the council, the community themselves, the new home buyers? Number 5, in the proposed Schlegel development, will the homes and street orientation facilitate maximum solar gain in 15 years when the gas furnaces require replacement or other forms of energy? Number 6, will there be land allocated for a district energy plant when natural gas is no longer available or solar orientation has not been planned for? Number 7, what would be the dollar amount leaving our local economy each year to pay for natural gas in this new subdivision? In case the public doesn't know, all of our natural gas is imported by the US. So all of the money you spend for natural gas goes to the US. And then how much will the cost be for retrofitting these homes in 15 to 20 years? If we're installing natural gas right now, we're gonna have to retrofit them in 15 to 20 years in order to meet net zero. Is Schlegel and the planning department aware that failure to a state to take appropriate action to protect the climate system from GHG emissions, including through fossil fuel consumption, may constitute an internationally wrongful act which is attributable to that state? And this is a quote from the International Court of Justice advisory ruling as of July 23rd, 2025. And those are my questions for council. And
Thank
take
you.
any questions.
Council have any questions for Mr. Ehrlich? No, I'm
Thanks.
not seeing any. Thank you for bringing
you.
those forward. I don't know if staff want to speak to considerations. Do we give considerations, or how do we, where are we in the process of incorporating environmental sorts of features like he's talked about? Sorry to put you on the spot, but
Yeah, so I think we've heard these questions on the last public meeting as well, and it's something that we would have to look into with the individual developers that are working on the properties and see how we can respond to these questions. I don't think we have answers right now.
okay, thank you. Yeah, Victor, Mr. LaBreche.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. If I just may add to that, I think it's important, just as a reminder to those speaking, if they can put those comments in writing to us in the form of a simple email. So if we have them, that's great. I wasn't aware, but the other challenges, as Ms. Fries had just mentioned, we heard similar comments at our last public meeting, and we're hearing that sort of in the industry. And I know that the building officials, group in this region, we've consulted with, and for those comments from the past speaker to have some, I guess, traction, if you will, needs to be in the Ontario Building Code, because ultimately builders, they have to meet the Ontario Building Code, and if they don't have those higher order requirements, then they're really not enforceable. So there's sometimes this, over the years, there's a bit of a lag when we're hearing international policy changes and rules that, on building codes regionally, provincially, need to catch up. So that may not happen on this subdivision, but in the coming years, it will be mandated through the building code.
Just curious, does your planning group do they lobby? Sorry, I'm looking for the right word. Do they lobby other levels of government for changes to the building code? And is this something that they are putting forward, or are we relying on our environmental folks to do that?
Yeah, I can respond to that. So no, the planning group wouldn't lobby anyone, but we do initiate projects as far as part of a regional group, such as the high performance development standards, and then do what we can to try to get them put into planning policy and building codes. But actual lobbying would not be done by us, no.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Are there any further speakers? Anyone else want to speak to this particular planning application? No? There being no further speakers, I declare the planning public meeting to be closed. Thank you. Tonight, we have two presentations and one delegation. Our first presentation is REEP Green Solutions 25th Anniversary Impact Report. And I welcome the Executive Director of REEP, Patrick Gilbride. Welcome, Patrick. Good to see you.
Good to see you again. Do I get the clicker? Oh.
Yeah.
There we go. Good evening, Mayor Shantz, councillors and staff. I'm very pleased to be here this evening to share with you our most recent impact report, our 25th, and some of the stories of Woolwich residents to work on climate action. This year, as you mentioned, is a special milestone for us. It's our 25th year of reporting to the community. 25 years represents an entire generation's worth of positive impact. And that becomes all the more important when we know that the decisions that we make today, as you well know, will resonate for many generations to come. It's in that spirit that we're celebrating the myriad of accomplishments of climate action within the community over the last 25 years. It is this legacy which gives us hope that we can carry forward this momentum to catalyze everything from installing heat pumps to planting trees to flood-proofing entire neighborhoods. Jamie is a great example of someone looking to make the energy transition. By installing a hybrid heat pump system, he is migrating his family's energy consumption away from gas to electricity. But with the recent cancellation of the federal carbon tax, he chose wisely to offset his electrical bill by installing solar panels at the same time. We're finding that installing heat pumps with solar panels is a more and more common pairing. With our partner organization, Green Communities Canada, we found that between 2023 and 2024, over half of the heat pumps installed in Ontario were undersized based on the analysis done. Many contractors don't have all the information that they need to make a informed recommendation when they're within the home, and that can often lead to a one-size-fits-all scenario. With a little extra work, when we conduct an energy evaluation, we can analyze a home's HVAC capacity and the electrical load requirements for a heat pump so that we can provide precise specifications needed to right-size a heat pump. All of this ultimately results in greater home comfort for residents. The wildfires that we've experienced across Canada this year are a stark reminder of the need to adapt to extreme weather. Through our Healthy Yards programs, we work with homeowners to use nature as a way to make our neighborhoods more resilient to flooding. Water quality is also of particular importance in our community, certainly in Woolwich and Elmira, as we draw upwards of 80% of our drinking water from groundwater. So we work with the region to deliver a program to educate property managers about ways to reduce their salt for winter maintenance. Our popular backyard tree planting program continued in Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo, and in Guelph. And we're happy to say this year we are providing a limited number of consultations and tree plantings to Woolwich residents, thanks to the Region of Waterloo's Community Environment Fund. We recognize the importance that the many benefits of trees provide, and they're not always shared equitably throughout our community. We launched a pilot phase of our community canopy program, which in the Chandler Mowat neighborhood of Kitchener last year. This pilot presented opportunities to work with community members to determine where they needed trees the most. And we worked with property owners to plant trees at low or no cost, while the city looked to plant trees in parallel along boulevards, parks, and in other public spaces. And we know that this investment will transform the neighborhood over time. This pilot has since expanded into several other lower canopy neighborhoods in Kitchener, and we've just started a new neighborhood in Cambridge in the last couple months. Our native tree nursery is now producing 10,000 saplings a year, all grown from locally collected seed. 42 different volunteers gave 280 hours of their time to make sure to help grow and distribute these trees throughout the community. And starting this fall, just later this week actually, inspired by Trees for Woolwich and Reforest Woolwich, we are teaming up with the Region of Waterloo and the townships of Wellesley and Wilmot to expand the roadside tree planting program in those townships. The funding that we secured from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities for this project will bring more trees and biodiversity to rural roadsides. And these plantings will further effort started here in Woolwich for the largest project of its kind in Ontario since the 1800s. So our goal is to plant 9,000 of those trees in Wilmot and Wellesley over the next 3 years. We co-lead Climate Action WR with Sustainable Waterloo Region in partnership with all of our area municipalities. And we recently led a lunch and learn with Woolwich staff for one of our Taking on Climate workshops to help people with local resources to further their transition to a low carbon future. Also, I was really happy to see that the Climate Fest, which is happening this Sunday, was in the lobby sort of posters, so we'd invite anybody to come out to that. That's Sunday afternoon at the Galco block next to the old bus station in Kitchener. In terms of our financials, as expected, we saw a down year. There was a significant decline in fee-for-service revenue from our energy evaluations, so we're firmly in the bust part of a boom and bust cycle. Our retained earnings from previous years have allowed us to invest in the development of new programs like the heat pump rate sizing project that I mentioned earlier. And finally, we'd like to say thank you for the partnership with Woolwich, not only sort of our core funders, but we get support from all of our partners in its many forms. And I'd like to give a special thanks to the staff who we get to work with on a regular basis, like Anna Harrison and the volunteers from Trees for Woolwich. So that concludes my presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Councillor Grant.
Thank you. Through you to the delegate. The mention about 50% of heat pumps are undersized. Just out of curiosity, what is the fallout for a resident if they have a heat pump that is undersized? Are they seeing less cost savings? Are they having harder time managing the interior temperature of their home?
I mean, essentially it doesn't run as efficiently, so there will be increased cost. The heat pump will turn on more, so there's the inconvenience and noise of that, obviously, as well. But the biggest inconvenience is the lack of efficiency, which does result in a higher bill for your energy combined with gas and electricity. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you for the presentation and for all you do to and have done in the last 25 years. and the organization for promoting green energy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next, I'll call on our TRAC technical expert, Tiffany Svensson, to provide council with the biannual presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Shantz, members of council, staff, and members of the public. On behalf of TRAC, I would like to provide you with this actually semi-annual update. It's every 6 months.
I was reading my notes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw it and I just realized, wait, it's semi-annual. In the interest of time, I'll be providing a really high-level summary of a lot of detailed technical information. I want to start with the key takeaways. I should be moving this along here. I want to start with the key takeaways, and they are that the drinking water in Elmira is safe, that significant progress has been made in cleaning up the municipal aquifer over the past 3 decades, and the work over the past 6 months has been forward-focused. The activities are essential building blocks needed to draft the remedial action plan that will take us beyond the 2028 expiry of the current control order. The balance of this presentation will speak to the next steps next steps that were presented in the February semi-annual update. But I'll start with a summary of the 2024 Annual Monitoring Report, or the AMR. And then I'll follow up with an update on the 2025 work plan, and then I'll finish up with next steps. So the Annual Monitoring Report is a requirement under the control order and the ECA, Environmental Compliance Approval. It summarizes the most recent data and information on the remediation of the upper and lower municipal aquifer. The AMR speaks to 2 specific constituents of concern, and they are NDMA and chlorobenzene. And I'll move through these next number of slides very quickly, but they're there for you to look at in more detail if you want. So progress has been assessed in a few different ways in the report, but for simplicity, I will just focus on 2 ways. And these are, I don't know if I have a pointer here. Oh yes, excellent. So one way that you can look at this is here, the plume area. So I'll be pointing to 1993, that's when we started doing this monitoring, the plume area, and then the average concentration within that area. The plume that you see here is basically any concentration that exceeds the drinking water standard for, in this case, NDMA. So I'm going to kind of quickly move through these slides so you can see the difference as we move along. So this is 1993, upper municipal aquifer, NDMA. This is this last year, 2024. You can see that there's much less of an area, 170 hectares, and the average concentration has gone down to 0.08 micrograms per liter. So a significant improvement there in the upper aquifer NDMA concentrations. Then this is the 1993 chlorobenzene in the upper aquifer. This is the 2024 comparison of chlorobenzene in the upper aquifer. Similarly, the lower aquifer, 1993 NDMA concentration and area versus the 2024 NDMA concentration and area. Lower municipal aquifer chlorobenzene, 1993, and lower municipal aquifer chlorobenzene, 2024. In each example, you will see that significant progress was made or has been made in cleaning up the municipal aquifer, but you will also see that there remains work to be done. One final note on these figures, when you may look back at them, you can use the area and relate that to the volume and the average concentration to get the mass. And it's ultimately the mass that you want to remove. So that's just a little technical note there. Just moving on here. Current challenges are, there are 4 specific ones that I'm going to mention. There are pockets of contamination that are harder to clean up, as you have seen. And the pumping and treating, the pumping is less efficient now as we reach the more mature stage of cleanup. Tests are needed to determine the best technologies or methods or options for cleanup. And the region has a growing need for water, which raises the stakes in terms of the remedial actions. So I mentioned this the last time. A remedial action plan is a document that outlines the course of cleanup action for the site. And while there will be public input on the proposed RAP, ultimately it is the ministry that needs to approve the RAP. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that part. So here's the update on the 2025 work plan and progress towards the proposed RAP. The aquifer testing and bench scale testing were completed this summer, and the results will be used by Lanxess to determine the best remedial technologies options to address the hard to get at contaminants in the municipal aquifers. And then they'll incorporate that information into the draft RAP for review. In addition, the required biomonitoring of fish tissue monitoring in the creek will finally be completed this year. It's been a problem to get it done because they've been needing to get an approved work plan. But the ECA requires this biomonitoring to happen every other year. But it has been done this year, or will be shortly. Also, TRAC and Lanxess and the ministry are working together to move the work plan forward towards the draft RAP. And at this point in time, I can report that there doesn't seem to be any roadblocks ahead of us. And as we move towards the 2028 control order deadline, public consultation will be part of the draft RAP review and approval process. Finally, in terms of an update, TRAC received an update on the creek risk assessment this past Thursday at our meeting, and the requested cleanup will depend on the outcome of the recommendations of the final human health ecological risk assessment. So we're still waiting on a response to that request. And the outstanding issue that community representatives on TRAC had raised related to lingering concerns about potential impacted soils on the east side was resolved during a site visit on April 10th. I'm simply leaving you with this summary of expected next steps until the next semi-annual update, but that's for your record. And I just return back to the key takeaways, which is drinking water is safe. Progress is being made, but there is still work to be done. And public consultation will be commenced in the new year for the community to have input on the proposed RAP. Finally, I just want to point you to some additional resources which can be found on the Engage Woolwich website. Thank you for your attention and time.
Thank you for that. Councillor Cadeau, you chair the committee. Do you want to add anything?
Thanks, Mayor. Nothing to add to the presentation except for when we're going through some of these images, there are some of those dashed lines. Can you speak to what those represent for somebody who may not be familiar with these?
Sure. Let me just go back to, maybe I can speak to it. Basically, the dashed lines represent areas where that particular aquifer, be it upper or lower municipal aquifer, doesn't actually exist. So it would be like a clay area, or basically the aquifer material isn't in that area. That's what that means.
I once had it explained to me that underneath Elmira is like Swiss cheese.
Yep.
Anyone else have questions? Comments? No. Thank you very much for the update and appreciate your work. Thanks. We have one delegate this evening, Mr. Alan Marshall, to speak to council regarding the state of Elmira aquifers.
Good evening, Woolwich Council and staff. Basically, I did see prior to this evening Tiffany Svensson's excellent presentation, and I was sort of going to take pot shots on the way, and I totally changed my mind. But nevertheless, my presentation is strictly in regards to the Elmira drinking water aquifers. The Montrose Chemical Company, which probably nobody's ever heard of, the Montrose Chemical Company is located in Los Angeles, California. They produced DDT, which resulted in a plume of dissolved chlorobenzene, free-phase chlorobenzene, chlorobenzene DNAPL, and a benzene plume. DDT was also transported both by chlorobenzene DNAPL as well as by the dissolved in groundwater chlorobenzene. We, as a former member of UPAC, CPAC, we were told stories 36 years ago in 1989. Things like DDT and dioxins are hydrophobic. They will not dissolve in water, which turns out to be a half-truth. They will dissolve, but at very low concentrations. I'll get onto that in a few minutes. Getting back to the Montrose Chemical Company, early attempts at a remediation plan of pump and treat resulted in the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency calculating cleanup times of between 3,100 and 5,800 years. Here in Elmira, our polluter and their political supporters have found a different solution. Basically, despite all evidence, you simply deny and further deny the presence of both off-site DNAPL by the Howard Street Water Tower, as well as the on-site DNAPL on the former Uniroyal, now Lanxess site. Recently, according to the minutes of the September 12, 24 TRAC meeting, the presence of DNAPL by the water tower and pumping well W4 was admitted, literally after decades of denial. Hints are beginning to emerge regarding DNAPL from Uniroyal, also gravity flowing onto the Nutrite Yarra property. That was also from a fairly recent, very low-key announcement, but there it was. There was suggestions that they're looking at concentrations at pumping well W8 to determine if there's DNAPL nearby. W8 is on the Nutrite Yarra property. Both DDT and dioxins entrained in DNAPL and dissolved in chlorobenzene have left the former Uniroyal site and spread through Elmira. One issue is that despite decades of denials that either DDT or dioxins will dissolve in water, as I said earlier, the fact is they can dissolve at a very low concentration. What is concerning with dioxins is that because their drinking water standard is so much lower than even NDMA, which we all know has a very low standard, dioxins are 1,000 times lower than that. It is possible to have dioxins in groundwater exceeding the Ontario drinking water standards. They will dissolve, and they will dissolve at higher than the drinking water standards. Other issues abound. For example, While we know the drinking water standard for NDMA as the sole contaminant water in water, what is that standard when mixed with chlorobenzene in the water? What are both the standards for these toxic chemicals, chlorobenzene and NDMA, when mixed with another 50 or 100 toxic chemicals? Telling me that I can drink chlorobenzene at 80 parts per billion and NDMA at 9 parts per trillion, I don't want to drink the two together. It's a guess. And I sure don't want to drink them with 50 more chemicals. I have, what are both the standards for these toxic chemicals when mixed with large numbers of other chemicals? And the estimates are about 100 different ones in Elmira. There are no such standards, despite the obvious health implications. The drinking water standard for dioxin is 15 parts per quadrillion. That's 1,000 times smaller. NDMA is 9 parts per trillion. 15 parts per quadrillion in clean water. Again, what is the standard when dioxin is mixed in with Uniroyal chemicals, other chemicals? Nobody knows. We're being led down the garden path. Oh, if we can get every single one of these chemicals below the drinking water standard, it's healthy. It isn't. Nobody knows whether there are synergistic effects or antagonistic effects with multiple chemicals. I have some advice for Woolwich Council. If you continue doing exactly what you've been doing, and that is following the advice and lead of the corporation currently responsible for the badly damaged aquifers and the ongoing damage to the Canagajig Creek, you will be in the same position, I'll be done in less than a minute, in another 36 years. This goes for their fellow traveler, the Ontario Ministry of Environment as well. Both bodies have turned a blind eye to the long-term effects of DNAPLs on and off the Uniroyal site, as well as of the mobility of DDT and dioxins in and around both ground and surface water. Dioxins have low solubility in water. They have a high solubility in chlorobenzene and many, many solvents, including benzene. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you. We have 3 consent items for approval. Does anyone want to remove anything from the consent? Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Councillor Bryant, Councillor Cadeau, all those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't turn the page quick enough. Did you want to pull?
How far down?
4.3.2 is what Jeff had suggested you might want to. Traffic and parking bylaw, increase penalty amounts.
Yes. This is a minor point, but I'm in the mood for simplicity in lots of things in life right now, and wondered if we could standardize all these infractions to make life easier for residents, understanding that if you park in a place you shouldn't be, it's a $40 fine. And if you obey our bylaws, it's no fine, versus $25 for one thing, 50 for another, and that type of thing. So I didn't know if that would make life easier for staff and more understandable for our community.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. If that's the will of council, I could recommend that we could standardize our early penalty amounts to $40 for most of our fees. The exceptions that I would recommend to that are if you're looking at the second attachment. Yes, second attachment to that report. Are items 55 and 56. Anything related to parking or stopping in an accessible space without a permit does have a ministry required minimum fee of $300. So that's what we're recommending for that. And then we also have a higher fee for item 57, parked on a highway during a snow event. And that is to, again, act as a higher deterrent for anyone who is continuing to park after the township has declared a snow event, when we're really trying to get the plows out and clearing the roads, likely in a heavy snowfall. So if it's the will of council, we could amend the bylaw or amend the bylaw on your agenda tonight, just that all the early payments for offenses, traffic and parking offenses, other than I would recommend items 55, 56, and 57.
I think I'd be in favor of that. I would like to make that amendment if possible. It's a motion.
Okay. So we'll vote on the amendment. Is there any discussion on the amendment, first of all, Councillor Cadeau?
No, not on the amendment.
Okay, then I'll call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? That's carried. And then we'll move on to the main motion which is approving the structure. And did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I've gotten some emails recently about car stopping at the schools, the no school zones. I know that that's not something that we can really take that much of a bite out of because it's an infraction. And Mr. Smith, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but it's an infraction that you have to be caught doing, and it has to be the police to get you doing it, if I'm not mistaken.
So there's 3 complaints that we typically hear about. One is parking issues on school property, and that's handled by the school. Moving violations, so speeding in school zones, are police. And then anything else that's related to a bylaw, like blocking a bus route, blocking someone's driveway, or parking in an improper space, is bylaw enforcement. I can tell council, we've been out at all of our school sites over the previous school year many times. I looked most recently at our statistics for Riverside Public School. In that school, we issued 8 tickets, attended 19 times, and issued many, many warnings. We're doing what we can to try to, alleviate the pressures around school sites. I mean, I know there's other pressures. St. Boniface is one that comes to mind, and other schools in the township. So we're doing what we can, but we can only do so much from a bylaw perspective.
That's fair. And I would encourage parents, encourage your children to walk to school where possible. We have nice weather here for the next little while at least. So an easy fix for that potentially.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else on the consent agenda? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as amended. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We have no unfinished business. We have video surveillance and live streaming policy update, and I'll call on Manager of Recreation, Marie Malcolm. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, Council. This evening, I'm bringing forward a report seeking Council's approval to amend the Township's existing video surveillance policy to include provisions for live streaming. In 2015, a policy was approved by Council regarding surveillance of all Township facilities. This policy was originally developed in response to the installation of security and recording systems at the Woolwich Memorial Center, and focused on guiding the use and the retention of the surveillance footage for the general public. The purpose of the update replaces the current policy with the new video surveillance and live streaming that expands the scope of including live streaming of public events. This would also incorporate the technology of public meetings as well as municipal sporting events held in our municipal facilities. It also outlines the corporate responsibilities, so that can be outline the corporate response of how we're providing signage, outlining public notification, and the safeguards to ensure the technology use is appropriate and legally compliant with the acts and the standards and the bylaws. As we all know, advancements in technology, particularly in-person, brought on by in-person restrictions from COVID, has brought forward live streaming in general. As we're experiencing right now, our council meetings are being live streamed, but we also have the Elmira Sugar Games that are being live streamed within our rec facilities, as well as the live streaming of provincial and national events. Forward to that, both local minor hockey associations have approached the township wanting to seek live streaming of their games and tournaments. This policy is to incorporate that to the approval to have installation of this access for live streaming of those games. The township has secured a partnership with LiveBarn, which is a subscription-based live streaming service that is widely known throughout municipalities in Ontario. We're hoping to bring this project forward for our associations to opt into. So it's not a requirement, as we have done extensive correspondences with our claims and risk management with Waterloo Region to ensure that the township, as well as our associations, have everything in place to make sure that privacy is the most front and forward. So as you council may recall, earlier in this year in July, City of Waterloo and Kitchener experienced an incident involving arena cameras live streaming outside of scheduled times. It's worth noting that this involvement did involve the live streaming that we're hoping to have within this facility. However, the approach the township is taking is different than what the cities have, as the cities are operating through an alliance agreement. So their hockey alliance is having the partnership with Livestream, with LiveBarn. With that, it's not the municipality itself that had that partnership. In light of this, we conducted several consultations with the risk management. Based on the review, staff are moving forward with the agreement with LiveBarn for installing the necessary equipment to make this available for associations to opt in. However, several items will be implemented as formal agreements with the affiliated associations that want to opt in, and waivers will be a responsibility of those associations. Township will be responsible for making sure equipment is upkeep. We're monitoring the schedules, as well as making sure that we are making public notification and the signage is in place for properly. These measures are designed to strike between transparency, accessibility, and to protect the privacy and security of all those, the public that is attending our facilities. We're hoping this as well enhances the accessibility and community engagement with these recreation opportunities. So at this time, I would be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Cadeau.
Thanks, Mayor. Through you to Ms. Malcolm, as somebody with 2 kids in sports, can't be in 2 places at the same time. This is a fantastic feature that I have used in the past. My concern with it is the expense, though, for actual users. And I guess the question that stems from that is, did we just take the sports organization at their word in this being the best option for us? Or were there others besides LiveBarn that maybe would have given us more than 5% of the revenue?
Through you, Mayor Shantz, to Councillor Cadeau. This was a conversation we had with minor sport associations. A lot of these hockey associations already use LiveBarn at other municipal facilities. So no further research wasn't done of other options, as it's a known provider that is already being utilized without introducing a new software available.
Just as a follow-up, I don't suppose that 5% is negotiable?
That 5% is not negotiable.
Always worth asking. Any other questions? No. There is a recommendation. Would someone like to move it? Councillor Schwint, Councillor Cadeau, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you. Our next item is Bill C-61, First Nations Clean Water Act, and I will call on Councillor Killigrant.
Thank you. So this motion before you tonight is in support of Bill C-61, the Clean Water Act. This bill was proposed federal law that affirms the inherent right of First Nations to self-government and jurisdiction over water on their land. It was originally before Parliament in January of this year, but was not passed due to the proroguement of Parliament. The Carney government has indicated their intent to reintroduce this bill, but has not done so yet. As Mayor Shantz said at the beginning of council tonight, next week is the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation on Tuesday, September 30th. With this date in mind, I felt it was important to see this bill come to Parliament and ask that council support the motion before you tonight. There are 27 communities in Ontario who have long-standing boil water advisories, 5 of which are 2 decades long and lack the access to clean drinking water. So all Canadians share responsibility of reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, and ensuring that we continue this work of bringing clean drinking water to these communities is an important part of that reconciliation step. So with that in mind, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. I'm assuming that you're moving that. Is there a seconder? Councillor Cadeau, is there any discussion or questions? Councillor Cadeau.
I just, excuse me, like to thank Councillor Grant for bringing this forward. More a comment than anything. You know, if we look and reflect on the amount of money that Canada sends out in aid to foreign countries, for instance, I'm not saying that it's wrong to do that, but we really should look at home and take care of people here in addition to maybe looking overseas. So certainly support this, and thanks for bringing it forward.
Anyone else? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And our final item, yes, it is our final item. I'll call on Councillor Eric Schwint for a motion on audit services.
Thanks, Mayor Shantz. After receiving our audit report last week and having discussion as a council, I think we've all realized over the past year that we've had questions on our accounting systems and checks and balances. And as you understand, audit processes, it's good governance, good practice to review our audit process every 5 years. And it's been quite a while since we as a township have done that. So I think it'd be prudent for us at this point to have an RFP to see what audit services are available and functions can happen. That's my number one. But number two is make it a practice that every term of council this is reviewed so that we don't get into a case again where it's 15, 20 years and not having looked at the services we're using.
Okay, thank you. Ben, you're making that motion?
Yes.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Grant? Any discussion, comments? Councillor Burgess?
Through you, Mayor Shantz, I'm just wondering if Director Colin Lynn would comment on or his thoughts or whatnot.
Through you, Mayor Shantz, to council. I would be in support of this motion. It is best practice. The Municipal Act limits a term of an auditor to 5 years. We do renew our audit on a year-to-year basis, so we don't have any contract with our current auditor. But it is best practice just to go out into the market and just to really ask council as well what they think of the audit and the auditor. So I would be in support generally of this recommendation. I think it's probably a good practice. I'm just not sure the timing of it. Right now we're September 23rd. Our year ends December 31st. Getting a new auditor in place perhaps by December 31st might be a little bit too quick, but that would be my only concern with that. I think we could still go out for the RFP and get someone new or the same one in place as soon as practical.
To you, Mayor Shantz, I guess to Councillor Swint, what are your thoughts about the timing as he talked about? And I guess just for future councils, is there a specific time in a term that you want this RFP? Because if you're at the start of your term, you haven't seen how they've done, or do you want in year 2, year 3, does it really matter?
I agree with your point. It shouldn't be year 1 of a term. So year 2, 3, 4, whatever makes sense to staff. And as far as the concerns about can we get it done for this year's audit, if you don't try, I know we won't. And so to me, we do the best we can, and as soon as practical, it's the goal here.
Do we need to incorporate that into the motion? Or can it just be an understanding that we'll report back in December as to where?
I
where
think
it's-
if the mover's okay, that can just be a direction. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Bylaws listed on the agenda. I can have a mover and a seconder for those. Councillor Bryant, Councillor Cadeau, all those, and Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. Just reminding council that the bylaw 36/2025 will be the bylaw to amend the parking fines was as amended.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? I did get a mover and a second. Yes, I did. That is carried. Thank you. This concludes the council portion of the meeting. We'll take a quick 5-minute recess and be back to start committee of the whole chaired by Councillor Cadeau. So where are we?
Good evening. We're now meeting as committee of the whole for items that require more debate and discussion. We won't be making any final decisions on these items, but proposing recommendations for the next council meeting. If anyone in the community has feedback on these recommendations, we encourage you to reach out to staff or submit comments to council before a final decision is made at our next meeting. So item 6.1 for committee of the whole, 6.11 rather, is community grants and rebate program. And I'll call on our climate action and sustainability coordinator, Anna Harrison.
Good evening, Mayor Shantz, members of council. This evening, I'm bringing forward a request for council to approve the allocation of climate action and green infrastructure levy funds towards 2 new community climate action programs. The first one is a Climate Smart Schools microgrant program, which will subsidize the cost of student-led climate initiatives at Township of Woolwich schools. Eligible projects funded enhance resiliency to climate change impacts and/or empower youth to champion climate initiatives in their schools. Staff are recommending that $10,000 be allocated annually to this grant program from the Climate Action and Green Infrastructure Levy. The second program being brought forward is a home energy assessment rebate program, which will subsidize the cost of REEP Green Solutions heat pump right-sizing evaluation program, which you heard a little bit about earlier, to help residents better understand the energy use and loss within their homes, with an added focus on heat pump retrofits to help reduce community greenhouse gas emissions. Residents can then use this information to apply for a heat pump grant through the available incentive programs through Save on Energy Home Renovation Savings Program. Staff are recommending that $10,000 be allocated annually from the Climate Action and Green Infrastructure Levy to subsidize this originally $600 program by $200 per household, which would allow 50 residents to participate in this program each year. There is no additional financial ask of council to support these programs. The total of $20,000 would be funded by the previously approved Climate Action and Green Infrastructure Levy. I can now take any questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ms. Harrison. Council, any questions? Councillor Bryant?
Thank you. Not so much a question, more of a comment. As we're heading into budget season, I would like to see us take this report for information purposes and delay allocating the funds until we're in the budget process. And that would be how I would like to see this move forward.
Okay. Councillor Bryant, I'll go over to you, Councillor Schwinn.
I guess I did see that we had a school come forward and Riverside School to speak to us in June, make a request for some ideas, and all of a sudden get communication back and forth. So I think that's a good news story for the community. I would divide this into 2 parcels, so the school one and the REEP one. I can fully support the school process, and I guess my preference would be start it now because school just started now. And our fiscal year doesn't correspond to the school calendar year. And if we're supporting it, let's bend over to backwards to make it happen as fast as we can for them this school year. So that'd be my preference. On the REEP side of things, I guess I just can't support that one at this time. I see that program provides really good information for homeowners. I've done it and got good value out of the report. I did it because it led me to getting 10 or 15 times that much money from federal or provincial government in additional grants. The $200 doesn't make or break it. It's going to happen. So to me, we're giving money to the people who are prepared to spend $10,000 on home improvement projects anyway. And to me, we're sending money back to a place that's maybe not needed. So I'd like to see us refine a project like this.
Thank you, Councillor Schwint. So a couple of different ideas on the table here. Councillor Burgess, was that a hand?
Through you, Chair. Yeah, it's great to see trying to help out the young minds and getting them involved there. 10,000 is a very big ask compared to what you see we give to some other programs and charities. I guess to ask staff, what would be the implications if we did delay it till December, January there in budget time?
Jenny from Riverside, and she recommended that the best time for them to apply for a program like this would be during October, November for a start of a project in January, which is why I was bringing this forward now, to hopefully get this going this year. And then we can release the funds in January and they can get going on a project as of the new year.
Councillor Grant?
Thank you. I'll just kind of echo what the rest of council said. I'm really happy to see us working with younger community members. I think the youth are, I pin my hopes on them on helping save us. I agree with Councillor Schwint in this. I would much rather support the climate smart schools now. I think it makes sense on the school year. When it comes to the REEP, I am okay with putting a delay on approving that funding and have further discussion at budget times. But I think it makes sense for schools, timing wise, to proceed with that.
Starting to arrive at consensus here, I think, but by the sounds of things, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion just to defer this to budget time for further discussion and receive this for information.
I'm not in favor of deferring, at least not the whole thing. I think we've heard from the staff and from at least a couple of our colleagues that for the school piece of it, at the very least, it's important to get it going and have it available for this school year. So I'm not in favor of a deferral.
We have a motion on the floor to defer for any particular amount of time or until budget. Okay, all those in favor? All those against? And that is defeated. So that leaves us.
I'll put a motion forward to fund the climate smart schools and then a deferral for the REEP home energy assessment until the budget discussions.
Seconded. Further discussion? Yeah.
Thank you. Can I ask Ms. Harrison, you had a number of possibilities outlined in your report for where we could use the funding. Why did you choose this particular one, not the school one, but the REEP?
Through the chair. So Woolwich can't really compete at the level of some of the grant programs that are currently available. We just simply don't have the funds or the capacity to run those types of programs. So the way that this rebate program would be structured would be would require very little administrative capacity on our end, and the program would be administered by REEP. They have the technical expertise on staff and the administrative capacity, and this assessment is a good first step for a lot of homeowners who maybe don't understand heat pumps quite yet, don't have the necessary information about their homes. So it would be a step towards retrofitting their homes with heat pumps, and it would just be valuable information to have. And REEP is a really trusted partner in the community. As you've heard, they have 25 years of dedicated services just like this in the community. So, I wasn't looking to reinvent the wheel here. It was, tapping in a community with someone who we trust. So I thought it was a good first step in this direction.
Okay, thank you.
We do have a motion on the floor. Any other comments or feedback? Mr. Smith?
May I just clarify, is the motion on the floor to approve the first two items in the staff report? So number one is approve the Climate Smart Schools grant policy, and number two is approve the annual allocation of $10,000. Thank you.
Not that it matters, but I'll give my opinion here just for a moment. If I was in your seat, I do agree with a lot of what's been said. To Councillor Schwint's point, the home energy assessment rebate is somewhat concerning for me because it's a first come, first serve. That's really one of the main things that would prevent me from supporting something like this is how do we know this isn't just going to the most privileged in our community already because they're aware of the program with only, 50 or so. I just worry that it's going to go to households that could afford to put something like this in, and people who can't afford are going to miss out on this rebate. So it's something to that effect is what I would say if I was down there. So with that being said, I will call this to vote. So Mr. Smith gave us the motion. All those in favor? All those opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us to our next item, which is the council meeting schedule. So I'll call on Deputy Clerk, Ms. Kirchen.
Thank you, Chair Cadeau. And good evening to you and council. Before you this evening is your draft schedule proposed by staff for 2026. As per usual, staff have utilized the various parameters and preferences that council has outlined before, such as 2 meetings a month and refraining from scheduling meetings after long weekends. There's one diversion in the beginning of the year where we have scheduled 2 back-to-back meetings at the end of March, and that was just for business continuity and to ensure that there's enough time in the beginning of the year to be able to conduct business. It's also right around the Easter long weekend, so that that meeting was to mitigate that holiday. And with that, if council has any questions or comments regarding the report or the schedule, I would be happy to answer them.
Questions or comments, council? Councillor Schwint?
Yeah, I like the schedule as far as the dates and how staff have lined it up through the year. I am a little bit concerned. Are we saving enough time as council to fully discuss and debate the business of the township? I find too many of our meetings, there's important agenda items that are being discussed at 10 o'clock. And I know I'm not making good decisions at 10 o'clock, and I wonder if collectively if we're doing justice to it. So it begs the question, how do you devote more time? Do you prioritize agenda items to have more in consent agenda? Or is there a possibility to start earlier in the evening? Maybe one meeting a month has 5 o'clock start and the other meeting the traditional 6 or 7 o'clock. But we've got a tough budget year coming up. We do have some difficult decisions on planning and monetary. I hate to see us discussing things 10:30 at night and not doing a good job for our residents.
Well, I make my best decisions after 10 o'clock, so I guess that's one of us, Councillor Schwint. Mayor Shantz, did you have a comment?
I would just say if we go that route, I would prefer the early start at the later meeting because the earlier meeting sometimes lines up with region, and so I'm there all day. So I don't have a problem with an earlier start otherwise.
Any other concerns with an earlier start? Ms. Kirchen?
Thank you, Chair Cadeau. There just might be some considerations for council to think about when having an earlier start time. So this council certainly has utilized the closed council sessions. And I believe it's been noted that 5:30 is the earliest time that this council is able to meet on a regular basis for closed sessions. So that allows you roughly 30 minutes. If we start one of the meetings, I think I heard Councillor Schwint, you said you're proposing 1 meeting a month to start at a later time, or sorry, earlier. We don't want to stay here longer. Starting earlier. So that's just a consideration of if we're starting at 6 p.m. and there's a closed session that we need to have items on, that's either going to delay the start time, which has further implications on public members who have registered for meetings, public planning meetings. If the public are waiting, we want to respect their time. But also just the amount of time that's spent in closed. So staff have to mitigate that as well. There's certainly other efficiencies that staff could think about to allow for more efficient meetings that wouldn't potentially last as long, whether that's internal planning, looking at some procedural bylaw changes, whether that be the amount of time that we limit presentations. We could look at the time for delegations. When counselors have questions for staff that might require some research, if staff has a heads up on that, so we don't have to be doing research in the meeting, that can save some time. So those are just some suggestions. There's others that staff can certainly explore if this is the will of council to look into earlier start times, be it once a month or every meeting.
Councillor Swin.
And with respect to the closed sessions or official meet starting times, I was saying 5 o'clock, start closed at 5 o'clock, and we assume a 6 o'clock start for council or committee of the whole for the public, so they know when we're going to start the open part of it. Because yeah, we do want to be respectful of the public's time they're coming for public meetings, so we do have to have fluidity in our agenda time management. But 5 o'clock, beginning, closed, open, whatever business we have, I think will provide better decision making here. It's up to us whether we as councillors can make that time work or not.
Yeah, and schedules change from year to year, so it might be a time to reevaluate. I see Councillor Burgess, your hand.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I personally think it's going pretty good the way it is. I know last year, I think we changed our schedule to have less meetings, so this is kind of a result of that. But yeah, as Alex pointed out, we can't start any earlier than 5:30 with people's schedules, and coming into an election year, that might even change going forward. But we have spent a lot of time in closed session, so I think just standardizing it at 7 is kind of the easiest way, because we often don't want to go into closed after the meeting. So when we're often starting at 5:30 anyways beforehand, it'll just make it too confusing and it'll get difficult. And even for the public, starting at 6 might be early if they're in the middle of their dinner or stuff. That doesn't give them time to pack up and get here for a meeting and whatnot.
On the other side of things, the public probably isn't wanting to watch us well into the evening, 10:30, 11. I'm just.
They don't usually anyways, it's empty.
Councillor Grant.
Thank you. I agree with what Councillor Burgess is saying. I think the schedule we currently has work. I know Councillor Schwinn has brought this up before privately. For me, it is very difficult to get here earlier than 5 or early, especially if it's as pushed back as 5 o'clock, just with my own work schedule. I work with people across Canada, so my challenge is kind of weighing the fact that we're several hours behind or ahead, depending who I'm dealing with. So for myself personally, 5:30 is probably as early as I can go.
Seeing 5:30 is working, probably leave that. That is the recommendation, I believe, on this one. Yeah, I'll keep that comment to myself. Any other thoughts? I know, self-filtering, it's a good skill to have. All right, so there is a recommendation then that we approve the schedule. Thank you, Councillor Grant, seconded by Councillor Burgess. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Ms. Kirchen, you're back on the docket here for the Woolwich Heritage Committee Terms of Reference update.
Thank you again, Chair Cadeau. So yes, my second report this evening is another efficiency report seeking to improve the flexibility and autonomy of the Woolwich Heritage Committee. Staff have drafted an updated terms of reference to create working subcommittees who will do the majority of the work of the committees with reduced staff support, and only when formal decisions are required by the committee, such as approving a report for a designation, will the committee meet formally with that full staff complement outside of their working subcommittee meetings. This was brought to the Woolwich Heritage Committee, and it was made very clear to the members that the general workings of how they have been working is not going to change. So they're still going to meet at their regular time. It'll just be under the umbrella of a working subcommittee rather than that formal committee. So with that, this evening, staff are recommending that council approves this updated terms of reference. And with that, if council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Councillor Bryant?
No question, but I would move the motion.
Great, seconded by Councillor Grant. Further discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. All right, lastly, we have Municipal Law Enforcement Officer Kristen Farrow with a presentation for council on fireworks.
Thank you, Councillor Cadeau, Mayor, and Council. So tonight we're here to discuss our options going forward when it comes to updating our current fireworks bylaw. As Council is already aware, obviously, so apologize for some repetitiveness. In the fall of last year, I participated in a working group with the region to look into creating a unified and consistent fireworks bylaw that was applicable throughout the region. As a result of that working group, I brought forward a draft bylaw in June of 2025. Based on that bylaw and with council's feedback, I was directed to revise the draft bylaw to be more cohesive for Woolwich Township and to kind of keep in line closer to Wilmot, our local townships versus the larger big cities. From that, I brought forward the proposal with a memo in August of 2025 with the revisions made to the fireworks bylaw. And it was recently that we were asked by a councillor to kind of find or come up with some alternative suggestions for the bylaw going forward. So right now we're just kind of looking for some clarification and direction as to how council would like us to proceed when it comes to drafting the new bylaw.
Thanks very much. Council? We'll start with Councillor Bryant.
Thank you. I just have a couple of comments. I'm looking at this chart that's been given to us, and I'm looking at days allowed, and I'm looking at the proposed changes of allowing them every day. And from my ward's perspective, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm looking at the staff proposal, and I support what staff is suggesting, limiting the number of days, because if you turn it into a free-for-all in an urban setting, I think you're asking for trouble. I think you've got to restrict the days that you're allowing this to happen. There was pictures in here of what's happened recently in one community, and you can see them up on the screen where there's fireworks residue in the person's pool all over their yard. So I do think we need these restrictions, such as setbacks from buildings, churches, etc. And I think we're not doing a fair thing for our residents if we don't put some restrictions in place.
Thanks, Councillor Bryant. Over to Councillor Schwint.
Yeah. My goal in this is to have some consistency, uniformity with all our bylaws, to have one-off bylaws for parking, for noise, for fireworks, for fires, for example. I think we have to have some conformity across all of them. So that's what I'm trying to line up with the noise bylaw. I struggle with the distances from schools and churches. Fireworks typically are set off dusk or at dark. Schools are not in session then. But if I live right beside a school, I can't be 150 meters away from a school when I light off my fireworks. So how do we have some sort of compromise that makes sense and lowers impact on our neighbors?
Did I see your hand, Councillor Grant? We'll go you and then back to Councillor Bell.
Thank you. I'm also in support with the staff's proposed bylaw that was announced in June. I hear what Councillor Schwint is saying about the 150-meter distance from schools and churches. And I think the concern here is less about the fact that it's a safety issue because they're being set off at a specific time. The concern that residents that I've talked to in Maryhill is the debris that's left afterwards. So you know, there is, as these pictures showed us, this is actually a resident in Maryhill that had this damage done to her property. These would be the type of items that we may be finding, you know, in a cemetery adjacent to a church. in a schoolyard. So when we're talking about those like setbacks, I really feel that it is coming from a debris and kind of damage standpoint, less than like a safety concern.
Before I head over to you, Councillor Bryan, I'm just echoing what Councillor Grant had said. I walk my dog back behind Riverside School regularly, and there was a big cake fireworks sitting in that back parking lot for weeks. I probably should have picked it up myself, but I didn't. Anyways, Councillor Bryan.
Thank you. Well, one of the other concerns that I'm hearing about too is when you get into the villages, we've got cornfields that are extremely dry this time of year. And when you start letting fireworks off, there's the fire potential right there. There's too many risk factors, I think, involved with some of this if we don't put some restrictions in place, and fire being one.
Councillor Bridges?
Can I ask Clerk Smith what the penalty is, or what, if you break this, what's involved with that, and what does bylaw do, or, sorry, bylaw?
No, it's okay. Through you, Chair, to Councillor Burgess. So the fine for someone who's not complying with the restrictions of the bylaw, whether it be not during the permitted times or setbacks, is first offense of $1,000, with secondary offenses being $1,500.
Yeah, my only concern is that's a hefty fine for some of these minute points near a school or church, and I don't necessarily disagree with what staff are proposing here, but just worried about some of that with even just kids playing and stuff.
Councillor Schwint?
So I want to go on the schools and the debris thing one step further. Because if I have fireworks next door to the school and we get debris, like it's in the picture there, the school won't even notice. Nobody will care. If I light that off from neighbors' pools 10 yards away, debris will end up in the pool. So if we're trying to solve a problem, the rule should be no fireworks in town because it's going to land on my neighbor's property. Not the rule should be 150 meters away from a school or a church, which it's not going to affect at all.
Suggestion, maybe we just prevent it from school property, church property, but I guess that's private property, so people would be excluded from that anyways, no?
Well, nobody should be setting off fireworks on property that's not their own.
Mayor Shantz?
10-meter distance from a building, I think, is going to preclude most in-town fireworks anyway. I maybe ask staff, but I don't, some of the bigger properties, you'd be able to get 10 meters away from the building, but in general, unless you're in the middle of the road, I don't think you could do that.
You know, a new bylaw, the minimum setback is now 7 meters for a rear yard. So that would include any new building, any new lot.
So is that the intent? No fireworks in town? If that's the case, why not just do that? I don't think that's a good policy for the township, but let's be consistent in what we're doing and say what we're doing.
Councillor Bryan?
Thank you. Just to note, the villages, a lot of them have 100-foot frontages, so they are big lots. Something to keep in mind. So we do need setbacks from buildings.
So there's all sorts of directions we can take on this, council. Ms. Cafaro has provided us with 4 options that we can discuss here. The first is take no further action, and by the sounds of things, that's where Councillor Schwint seems to be landing potentially. Not putting words in your mouth, of course.
I believe there's a few restrictions that work, like the noise bylaw time restriction makes sense to me. We don't want fireworks at 3 in the morning. So, but noise bylaw looks after that. So that's a line with our other bylaws.
So I'm clear, are you talking more about number 3 then? It has your name in it, so I'm assuming that's.
Let's say yes, because I don't.
I'll just read it for you. Direct staff to draft a bylaw with all or some of your suggestions.
Yep.
I like that. I'll go to Kristen.
Thank you through you, Chair. So if we were to keep the current bylaw in place, just a reminder that the setbacks from schools and churches would still be in effect because that's currently in existence with our fireworks bylaw. And then just to speak to Councillor Schwint's recommendation for the noise bylaw, another thing to consider is the time restrictions for the noise bylaw is specific to days of the week. So it is from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and then 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. So if a statutory holiday falls on, say, a Tuesday, according to the noise bylaw, they would not be able to set fireworks off past 9 p.m. And in the summertime, it doesn't start to get dark until 10.
Could we put a provision within our noise bylaw that says on those holidays that we've identified, it can be outside of those hours? I'm not trying to get
Is
it
the
right.
provision called the fireworks bylaw?
But then it's a whole bylaw, not just one, sentence in another policy.
Noise bylaw is probably wrong.
You're not wrong. Councillor Bryant.
2, which is the staff proposed bylaws with council's June modifications. Well, why don't we start there?
Seconder?
I'll second it, but I did have a question relating to the fees. And that was just, do we know, like, are these fees kind of in alignment with what we see in the other municipalities and cities?
Through you, Chair. Yes, it is. So in looking into it, I did contact our neighboring municipalities. One thing they seem to consistently have kept from the regional working group was the increased fines in regards to the penalty amounts for anyone who is in contravention of the bylaw.
Okay, it's steep, but I understand that it's maybe a deterrent factor.
Councillor Burgess?
Sorry, just on those fees, the 1,015, was that the old or the new? And what was the other one then?
Under our current bylaw, it's 200 and 300. The proposed from June was the 1,015.
Yeah, it starts falling.
Can I get some clarity on private displays for special occasions? Does that mean Victoria Day, Canada Day, Diwali, like the ones that are listed up above? Or is that outside of those days?
Through you, Chair, to Mayor, it would be outside of those permitted days. So let's just say hypothetically, if someone was having a wedding and they were having fireworks at the reception, then the proposed bylaw would allow for them to apply for a permit to be able to set fireworks off outside of those set days in the bylaw. This also helps with scheduling. They can be out to monitor to ensure they're in compliance. And the permitting process itself was intended to also have conditions on it that would require the applicants to make sure they clean up any debris that falls onto neighboring properties.
Councillor Schwint?
Can we afford to have bylaw officers out watching every fireworks display that happens in the township for a wedding?
I don't know if that's a rhetorical question, because it's probably no, but it does beg the question of how will enforcement unfold? Like, is it something that you have to catch somebody lighting it off in the moment in order to levy that fine?
Through you, Chair, there's a couple ways that we could go about it. Whether or not the officers witness it firsthand, they could issue a fine based on their own observation and notes. But if we do have, say, a witness willing to come forward, we can issue fines based on the witness's statement provided to us. So there's recourse in kind of 2 ways.
Councillor Burgess?
I'm sorry, is there a fee to applying for that wedding fireworks type thing?
Through you, Chair. So it was proposed that there be a minimal fee for special events for special occasion permits for, say, a wedding. Whereas if it was a special occasion permit issued for, say, a religious holiday, then those fees would be exempt. And the proposed fee was going to be $25.
If I can make, I think we moved this motion already, so if I can make an amendment that we keep the old fees for the initial fee, then I think I'd be open to it. 'cause 1,000's just too steep for me with these strict rules.
Councillor Grant, you seconded, yeah. So it seems like
You're
Clerk
fine.
Smith wants some clarification as well, so.
I think I was going to ask for the same clarification. Are you, Councillor Burgess, are you looking for the same fines, okay, which were in the 250 to 300 range?
For the initial offense, I'm fine with upping the second, keeping that as the new version.
So initial offense would be $250 and a second or subsequent offense would be closer to 1,500. Okay, is that acceptable to the mover?
So we have that motion on the floor. Any further discussion? All right, so we have that motion on the floor. Any further discussion? I will call it to a vote then. All those in favor of the amended resolution to direct staff to put the staff proposed council modified bylaw on the agenda with revisions that we heard today. All in favor? And all opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. That brings us to other business. So I will turn it over to Mayor Shantz for a report on regional matters.
Nothing today except, I guess I was at State of the Region this morning and heard lots about the airport and all the activity and businesses that are going on at the airport. It's very vibrant and doing well.
You're still working on getting us more tax money from that airport, right?
Working on it.
Thank you.
Working on it.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. Are there any council report or updates? Outstanding activities? Items pulled from information package or none, and no public notices. So that brings us to the end of our meeting. Just need a motion for adjournment. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks very much. On behalf of council, we want to thank